you're watching is the intro to Golden Sun: The Lost Age. Golden Sun and Golden Sun: The Lost Age are, in my humble opinion, the best RPGs on the Game Boy Advance, and two of the best RPGs ever made. Where do I start with Golden Sun? Golden Sun is a 3-game series. Now, for this retrospective, we're just going to be talking about Golden Sun and Golden Sun: The Lost Age, the two games on the Game Boy Advance that were released in 2001 and 2003 respectively. I know there was also Golden Sun: Dark Dawn on the Nintendo DS, but we're not here to talk about that. Today, we're talking about Golden Sun and Golden Sun: The Lost Age on the Game Boy Advance. Now, I have a lot to say about these two RPGs, as I'm not the biggest JRPG guy around, but these games absolutely blew my mind when I played these. As probably like an early teenager, I want to say I was around 12 or 13 when these games came out. I had both of them on the Game Boy Advance, and they were just amazing in every way. The Golden Sun series was developed by Camelot, often known for the Shining Force RPGs on the Sega Genesis. Also in more recent times, known for the Mario sports titles. Now, Golden Sun and Golden Sun: The Lost Age were originally intended to be one game, but the project was so big and ambitious that it had to be broken up into 2 cartridges. Kind of like how Sonic 3 and Sonic & Knuckles on the Sega Genesis had to be broken up into 2 games. But in the end, it was well worth the wait. But Jay, I hear you ask, what makes Golden Sun so special? Isn't this just another run-of-the-mill JRPG? What makes this better than, say, I don't know, Final Fantasy? Well, never you worry, my friend. In this retrospective, we're going to be covering what makes these games so great. I'm going to split it into 3 segments. We definitely need to talk about the story, the gameplay, and the music. I would also like to add that for the time, the graphics and animations in this game absolutely pushed the Game Boy Advance's hardware to its limits. I strongly urge you to look at other GBA titles from this time and come back and tell me that this game isn't the best of the best for this era. Now, this should go without saying, but being that this is a retrospective for a 20-plus-year-old game, this retrospective will contain spoilers. So, if you haven't played the game or are planning to, I would go ahead and stop here and do your playthrough, because there will definitely be spoilers throughout this review. Alright, well, with that disclaimer aside, let's get into it. The story of Golden Sun begins in the town of Vale, where we meet the protagonist of the first game, Isaac. Now, I say protagonist of the first game because the second game you play as a completely different lead character. Isaac is awakened by his mother in the middle of the night as a storm is ravaging the town of Vale. Outside, Isaac meets his childhood friend Garrett, and the two of them team up to help the others in town who are in need. Isaac and Garrett then encounter their childhood friend Jenna, whose brother Felix is trapped in the water and holding on for dear life. A giant boulder is atop the mountain and is about to come crashing down. Then, at the 11th hour, tragedy strikes, and Felix and Isaac's parents, and Jenna's parents, are washed away. This segment of the game basically plays out as one big interactive cutscene to teach you the game mechanics. While there's a lot of dialogue, you also get to engage in combat to learn a little bit of the game's mechanics. It's at this point in the story where we're introduced to the game's big bads, Saturos and Minardi, 2 powerful wizards, known as adepts in this game, who control a vast amount of magic. They confront Isaac and Garrett because they don't know what they're doing there in town. It turns out that they were trying to steal powerful artifacts that we'll get to later. So, a battle ensues, and without surprise, because Isaac and Garrett are children, Saturos and Minardi whoop their asses. They leave you there lifeless and run off with the artifacts as we are treated to the intro screen, and then the game starts. Three years have now passed since the events of the prologue, and Jenna is on her way to Vale to visit Isaac and Garrett. Over that 3 years, Garrett, Isaac, and Jenna have all grown. They've all been practicing their synergy, which is a power that people known as adepts can use in the world of Golden Sun. Everybody in Vale is an adept of some sort and has some type of synergy. The Garrett and Jenna are fire adepts, and Isaac is an earth adept. Now, one thing I will give you a little warning on is that while this game definitely weaves a rich story full of twists and turns, it is definitely very, very text heavy. You will spend a lot of time reading through text boxes, so if that's not your thing, this may not be the game for you. That said, let's continue. Unsatisfied with the explanations they've gotten for the events that happened 3 years ago, the three meet up with the town scholar Creighton. He is the resident alchemy expert. The four of them band together to head up to Mount Aleph to get some answers about what really happened 3 years ago. So our party of three with Creighton tagging along break into Saul's Sanctum, which is a temple that is the resting place of the artifacts that Sataros and Minardi were trying to steal 3 years ago. Along the way, they encounter some combat, some monsters, and this is a good first little mini-dungeon to kind of teach you the puzzle-solving elements and some of the more advanced combat aspects of the game. So after making their way through the tutorial dungeon, the Saul Sanctum, the gang reaches the Inner Sanctum. It is at that point where they are shocked at what they find. The scholar Creighton is shocked at the existence of the elemental stars. These are stars that contain the power of alchemy. As it would turn out, these were the artifacts that Sataros and Minardi were after 3 years ago. As it turns out, if one were to take the elemental stars to the 4 elemental lighthouses scattered across the land and light the beacons atop the lighthouses, the seal on alchemy would be released. Creighton, being the inquisitive scholar that he is, decides that he must examine the elemental stars. However, after trying to get them himself, realizes he's much too frail to handle the path. Jenna makes the boys do it, and like good little simps, they go on a massive fetch quest to fetch the elemental stars. It is at this very moment that the gang realizes they've been followed this whole time by Sataros and Minardi in an attempt to get them to fetch the elemental stars for them. At this point, we also learn that Felix is not dead, he is alive and has been held hostage by Sataros and Minardi. They use him as a bargaining chip and get Isaac to give them the elemental stars. We also learn that Felix has been working alongside Sataros and Minardi under duress so that the people he cares about would not be harmed. It's at this point that things start to get very interesting. We are introduced to the third main antagonist of the game, Alex. Alex is a water adept, a very powerful water adept. Now, Alex is the perfect villain. He is a complete sociopath, but more to come on Alex later. So, as with any sanctuary that houses powerful artifacts, Saul's Sanctum is equipped with a self-destruct sequence. This is triggered by the Wise One, the protector of the Saul Sanctum. Our heroes quickly realize that they need to escape, and the Mars Star is left with Isaac and Garrett. The Mars Star? Oh, I should have explained that better. So the 4 elemental stars represent the elements in this game. The Mars Star represents fire, the Mercury Star represents water, the Jupiter Star represents wind, and the Venus Star represents earth. There's one corresponding lighthouse to each star, and if the star was cast into the lighthouse, it would ignite the lighthouse, and when all 4 lighthouses are lit, it releases the seal on alchemy. Sataros, Minardi, and Alex escape, and they take Jenna, Creighton, and Felix as hostages. Isaac and Garrett are now trapped in the Sanctum. The Wise One does the very best he can to delay the eruption, as Isaac and Garrett barely escape with their lives. Isaac and Garrett now return to town having barely escaped with their lives. Everyone in town felt the eruption of Mount Aleph, so they explained to the townspeople the events that occurred inside Saul's Sanctum. As it was Isaac, Garrett, Creighton, and Jenna who went into Saul's Sanctum, despite it being illegal. They are now tasked with the quest of tracking down the elemental stars to return them to the Sanctum, as well as pursuing Sataros and Minardi in an effort to rescue Felix, Jenna, and Creighton. It is also revealed that it is unclear what the impact of the lighthouses being lit with the elemental stars could mean. It would mean unsealed alchemy all across the land, which could prove to be very dangerous. The whole town meets up to wish Isaac and Garrett well on their quest, and Isaac and Garrett head out. Soon after leaving Vale, they find a creature called a Djinn. Now, Djinn are part of the combat system that you collect throughout the game. They are creatures with various powers. More to come on the Jin later, but the first one is right outside Vale as you leave. And yes, I have it on good authority that it's pronounced Jin, not Dijin or Dijini, as it was so often called around the lunch table back in middle school. So Isaac and Garrett take a brisk walk over to the town of Vault. It's here where they meet Ivan, the Wind Mage, and Madeline. Ivan joins the crew, he helps them beat up some thieves, get back a treasure for his master Hammett, and he joins them along on their quest. After some side quests and meandering around, the gang arrives in the wintry town of Imil. The people of Imil are plagued by a pandemic and very ill. Isaac and company track down the village healer Mia. Mia has been working around the clock to help the townspeople recover, but notices a flash emitting from the Mercury Lighthouse and bolts over to find out what is going on. Our heroes pursue Mia to the lighthouse entrance, where Mia seems to be unable to move forward. After using synergy to move the statue blocking the entrance, Mia realizes that Isaac and friends have special powers just as she does. Mia then goes into the lighthouse to find out what is going on, but is quickly blocked by a monster. Our heroes once again defeat the monster, helping Mia. Then she progresses to the next room where there's another statue. It is at this point that they realize that they will need to join forces in order to get to the top of the lighthouse. Having Mia in the party is awesome because she can cast powerful healing spells right when your team is on the brink of death. Oh, and she's also an absolute sass queen. So after many trials and tribulation, the gang makes it to the top of the lighthouse, also known as the Eyrie. Or is it an Eyrie? I don't really know how to pronounce that word. Anyway, it appears the gang was too late, as Felix, Jenna, and Creighton are now leaving with Minardi. Satiros stays behind and confronts the team in one of the most epic boss fights in the game. This boss fight is a major reality check for those people who are under-leveled, but what we really got to talk about is the music. Everybody who played this game seems to remember this song as a standout because it is just an absolute bop. Let's take a listen. This music is perfectly suited for this battle. A heroic stand by Isaac, Garrett, Ivan, and Mia against an overpowered opponent. For the first-time player, this will be an extremely difficult battle, probably taking a few game overs. After having narrowly defeated Satiros, Satiros revealed that his strength was reduced due to having the Mercury Lighthouse beacon lit. Him being a fire adept, he was weakened by the water elemental, insisting that he lost to the lighthouse and not to Isaac and his crew, and that he didn't appreciate the power of the lighthouse beacon. At this moment, Alex comes out of the woodwork, much to the surprise of Mia, who is furious at Alex for having lit the beacon. It is also revealed that Alex was a former pupil of Mia's, and the two of them are some of the last Mercury adepts left. Alex stalls so Satiros has time to recuperate as they escape together. When asked if they are going to finish him off, Satiros snidely remarks that Isaac and company don't have it in them to finish anyone off. Mia berates herself for having failed to stop Alex and Satiros for lighting the beacon and says she doesn't deserve to call herself a healer. After a pep talk from Garrett and Ivan, Mia decides to join the quest to stop all the lighthouses from being lit, as she feels a sense of personal responsibility having failed to stop the first lighthouse beacon from being lit. For the purposes of keeping this review from becoming tedious, we aren't going to go through each individual plot point in the entire game, so we're skipping to the most important plot points. There is a lengthy middle section of the game with quests such as finding a ship to get to the town of Tolby, competing in Colosso for Lord Bobby, and proving yourself to be a warrior worthy of his aid, crossing the desert and the mountains, collecting more Jin, and so on. Isaac and the gang arrive at the town of Lalavero, where it is revealed that Bobby had been attempting to build a lighthouse of his own. The next relevant plot point in our story is that Sheba, a wind adept and the divine child of Lalavero, has been abducted by Sataros and Minardi. Isaac and friends use their powers to pursue them through the Bobby Lighthouse and make their way to the game's final test, the Venus Lighthouse. After scaling another skyscraper dungeon, you arrive at the top of the Venus Lighthouse, and it's here, at the end of the game, that the plot of the series becomes really interesting. Isaac and friends arrive at the area after Sataros and Minardi, but find an opportunity to stop them from lighting the beacon as they have not done so yet. The reason they haven't done it is because they find that Sataros and Minardi are having an argument with Felix over the fate of Sheba. It appears Felix has gone full simp for Sheba and wants assurances that she will not be harmed. As they argue, you catch up to them and confront them. It appears Felix has now taken their side in their quest to light the beacons. After agreeing to a deal not to harm Sheba, Sataros reveals that he has tricked you.
I am altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further.
After a heated exchange, the final battle begins, and once again with an epic final boss track. We're going to dedicate a whole section of this review just to the music in this game, because the OST is truly an achievement of its time, and Sakuraba absolutely crushed it. But for now, let's listen to this amazing track. These guys beat you up when you were children, almost caused the end of the world, kidnapped your friends, and turned your childhood friend against you. You've chased them halfway across the world to prevent them from unleashing alchemy. This is personal, and it all culminates to this epic battle. Both sides know that their quest is over if they fail in this moment, and their perceived end of the world will come if they are defeated. This fight is a grueling test of everything you've learned throughout the game, and the music does a perfect job conveying the gravity of this situation. After a grueling battle, our heroes manage to best Sataros and Minardi, but Felix states he will continue the quest to light the beacons and refuses to let them take Sheba back to Lalavero. At this moment, it appears that Felix has become a full-on roadblock and enemy. While they tried to reason with Felix, Sataros and Minardi, as it turns out, were not finished. They toss the Venus star into the lighthouse and light the beacon. They quickly tell Felix to get Sheba to safety and take her to their ship. Isaac and friends, feeling confident after having defeated them, say they will fight them as many times as it takes to stop them. But Sataros and Minardi have one last trick up their sleeve. Oh, you thought you'd won? You thought we were finished? Not quite. They fuse into the fusion dragon, transitioning into the fight with one of the coolest animations I've seen from this era. It's as if they were cracking the screen and bursting through. This battle is truly epic, as the character sprites are made smaller just to show you how small our heroes are in the face of this menacing beast. The music is another epic track to convey that this is without a doubt the final battle. In both parties' minds, this battle will decide the fate of the world. So after being able to slay the dragon, Isaac and friends have now definitively won. Sataros and Minardi fall into the lighthouse to their death. Felix jumps off the lighthouse to try to save Sheba due to the aftershock created by the battle. They search for Jenna and Creighton, but after a tiring search, they are nowhere to be found. Isaac, Garrett, Ivan, and Mia return to Lalavero to follow up on their progress of finding Sheba. They are then gifted a ship to continue their adventure and pursue Felix and prevent the lighting of the other beacons. The credits then roll as you realize only 2 of the 4 lighthouses have been lit, and we have a whole other game ahead to see where the story takes us. For the sake of making this digestible, we're going to split this review into 2 parts. In the next part, I'll cover the story where it leaves off at the end of the first game and where it picks up in Golden Sun: The Lost Age. We are also going to cover the gameplay and music in greater detail, as I think these are some of the elements that make these games really stand out. As always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video and hit subscribe, and we'll be back shortly with more content.